Okay, guys, welcome back to AuddyHotties.
Welcome
We're on
back.
our 40th episode today,
That's exciting.
minus the 37th that disappeared.
We've had a weird month
I
where
don't
it's
know what
just
happened.
like
Politics
things have
woman.
disappeared, energy's been low,
All over the place. The
time
month of
is
November went by
fucked.
in like
Yeah.
1 second. November was like gone.
Literally, it's been really weird.
Yeah, it's been super
So let's just acknowledge.
Anyways,
Hold space.
yeah, whole face. And we only have like 2 months left of podcasting until we meet our goal. So likely after that, we don't really know what's going to happen. We probably aren't going to be doing as frequently after that, I imagine.
Yeah.
Our goal is to make it to a year, and in February that'll be
Yeah.
a year.
I was thinking it'd be fun to do like seasons.
Yeah, seasons
Like
and
maybe we'll do like a summer season or a spring season where it's
yeah.
like 10 weeks of something.
Mhm.
And yeah.
Just a quick little blip and then
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but it's so fun to
It
do.
is so fun. It's a
Yeah.
lot of work though, podcasting
It's
on a regular basis. Like I I understand now why a lot of podcasters end up like just doing podcasting once they like get a following because it is
yeah.
like it wouldn't be so much work if it wasn't like constant because it'd be like we get things edited and done and be like cool we're done and then forget that like 1 week from then we needed to record again and then 1 week later we needed editing.
Yeah.
Anyways, also that we could talk about in our final episode, for this season, which will be wrapping up like looking back at our previous
hmm
episodes. So
Totally. It'll be a good one.
yeah, but for today we're gonna get a little bit darker. So
Dun dun
dun dun
dun.
dun dun dun
Dun
dun
dun
dun
dun
dun
dun dun dun dun
dun.
dun.
Exactly. So here we
Oh my
go. Audie
hotties.
Hotties. Yeah, welcome to the Audie Hottie podcast.
Here we are.
Hey guys, welcome back to Audie Hotties, your favorite podcast about autism and ADHD and what life is really like. I'm your co-host Bree.
And I am McKenna.
Yeah, and today we are having a not so positive episode. So pull your pants up and get ready for feeling a little bit down, but
We always make it light.
yeah, but it's important. But today I wanted to start with a couple of updates because we haven't talked about what's been going on in life for a bit. So, anything that you want to update us on?
Well, no. Let me think, because my update was my birthday and we talked about it on
Oh
the
yeah.
last episode. So let me think. You go first.
Oh, okay. So I have a surprise. I didn't even tell McKenna yet.
That's right. I'm excited.
I did. So I don't really shop usually for Black Friday and stuff because I kind of think it's scammy.
Yeah, it
Like
is.
I will look up a few things that I'm interested in getting. Like I'll look up the price like a month ahead of time and just like see
Yeah.
if it actually is a deal or not.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't do a lot of shopping on that. But
What did you
this year
buy?
I was really interested in looking at Travel Tuesday because I have a lot of stuff coming up in 2026 that's going to be a little bit more of a travel year, partially just for things that are already happening, like a friend's wedding
Yeah.
and then a family reunion. But my mom is going overseas. She's like semi-retired now,
Yeah.
and she's going overseas to Europe to do a few countries. And she mentioned a country that I have really wanted to go to for a long
Are you
time.
going to the Dolomites?
No, I really want to go there
Where
too.
are you
That is like
going?
high on my list. I'm going to the Netherlands for a week.
Shut up! How fun!
So she's going like Denmark, a little bit of Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, and France. She's doing like all of that in like I think it's gonna be like 2 months
Yeah.
probably. Last this fall she did Scotland and England together
Cute.
for like a
Yes, I
month and a
remember
half.
that. Yep.
Yeah.
She did a lot of like hiking and
Yeah, a lot of hiking and then met up with some people that she'd met previously.
yeah.
And while she was there, she met some people who live in the Netherlands. So it might be a thing. We'll
Fun.
see.
Oh
But I
my
kind
God.
of really impulsively was like, I'm gonna
Hell
meet you in the
yeah.
Netherlands. I
Yes,
can't
I
make it this
am.
time, but I already have time off of work because we have our like 3 week on, 1 week off schedule. So it's on my one of my break weeks. And I got round trip tickets for a whole week there for $550. I was like, that is a very good deal
It is
for
really
flights
good. Yeah.
to Europe.
Yeah, it is.
So I will probably be like staying in hostels and doing things to make it as cheap as possible
Oh
because I
yeah.
didn't exactly save for this trip.
It all works itself out.
It's fun.
Happy Sag season to you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
How fun!
I'm so
I
excited.
love
So
that.
yeah, I'm going to Amsterdam. I'm definitely going to check out a couple of other places, and I'll
Yeah.
be there for part of the Tulip Festival.
Oh my God.
So we
Yeah.
get to see like all of the flowers and everything.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm so
Um,
excited for you.
yeah, and then my great grandpa immigrated from the Netherlands.
Cool.
So we actually have his background. My maiden name is Verstig, which I think means like the street or the alley or like the little alley, something like that
Hmm.
in Dutch.
Cool.
And I looked him up and he came from Utrecht, which is like a little bit south of Amsterdam.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go like to that town, check that
You
out.
with your mom.
Yeah. Probably with my mom. It's
Yeah.
it's on my dad's side, so it's not
Yeah.
like her history, but it
Got
is
it.
like kind of connected still. So
Got it. That'll be so
yeah.
special. Oh,
And I haven't traveled by myself in a really long time, like probably since right after college.
yeah.
So I told my mom, I was like, you can meet me for half of it, and then the other half I want to travel by myself because I haven't been.
We love a solo journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yay! That's really exciting. Love it.
I've also found I went full hyperfixation mode.
Love.
I found a Dutch podcast to listen to about learning Dutch and then got
Perfect.
on Duolingo, worked on that for
Love.
free.
Have you been eating Dutch babies?
No, not yet.
They're so
But
good.
I have been researching all the foods and different things I
Yes.
want to see and stuff
Yes.
like that. Yeah. So
Ah,
I've gotten as far as Ik heet Brianna. Ik ben Amerikaans. So I can say, hi, I'm
wow.
Brianna. My name is Brianna and I'm from America.
Love. I wouldn't have known that you were speaking Dutch.
It's a really interesting
It is
language. It
different,
sounds
yeah.
like gobbledygook when you first hear it. You're like,
So
what in the heck?
interesting.
But
Yeah.
then when you get into it a little bit more, you like it's
It
kind of
makes
like a
more
blend
sense.
of like English and German. It's like you hear some of this like ich bin, which sounds very like German, but then a lot of the words are like drink milk is like drink milk.
That
So
is
then
so
you start like
interesting.
thinking like, wait, am I doing like Danglish or is like Dutch
Yeah.
English like
Oh my,
Spanglish?
I love it. Love that. Huh. I think
Nice.
German is such a cool language. I listened to it a
Yeah.
lot this summer on my trip to Italy and was like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
that's such a beautiful language. Yeah.
Like from other travelers or like
Yes.
okay, cool.
Ton of German travelers in the Dolomites. It actually used to be part of Germany, like up
Really?
until after World War II. I think War One. I can't remember the history
Hmm.
exactly, but it used to be part of Germany. So there was just
Yeah.
a ton of German travelers,
Yeah.
tourists.
An influence there and stuff probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah,
So
cool. Yeah, I want to go like everywhere in Europe. So I had to really hold myself back and be like, no, just stay in
I
one
know.
country. Don't try to do a bunch. It's only like 6 days. You
It's so
can.
funny because I was watching the Kardashians last night and
Kardashians.
it was the episode that Kim is talking about her robbery in Paris. So there was a lot of Paris, like, what is that called? B-roll of like,
Mm.
scenes in Paris and stuff. And I've been to Paris 3 times.
Oh.
And it was like one of my childhood dreams to go to Paris. And the last time I went, my passport was stolen off of me. Like it was in a safe place and everything, and it was gone by the time I got to the airport.
Oh.
And so it's like one of those cities that I'm like, I don't ever want to go back. And then I was watching the frickin' Kardashians, and I was like, I love Paris. And I texted my sister, and I was like, shall we go to Paris? So nothing's like planned or anything, but it is a pipe dream.
Yeah.
But this is kind of an update. My really good friend who happens to be my cousin is getting married
Oh.
in Hawaii this spring.
Oh.
Yeah,
It's
so
a
I
great destination
I
for
am
sure.
so excited. And so that's been just a trip that's being planned right now, and I think it's in
Cool.
April.
Which
So
island?
Oahu. Yeah,
Oahu.
it'll be on Oahu, and of course I'm like, well, the week before is my spring break, and then I have to take
Oh.
off time for the wedding. Oops. So maybe I'll just spend 2 weeks in Hawaii.
Ooh.
Maybe go to Kauai, maybe
Mm.
do some hiking.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm really excited
love
for
it.
that. Yeah.
Bucket list one for sure.
I know, I know. Have you ever been?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Okay.
I actually had my Hawaii physical therapy license for a while.
Yeah, did you like travel contract?
It was for my job in Alaska actually, because there's so many
Interesting.
snowbirds from Alaska that the
Huh.
clinic I was working at, they were going to try to make a sister clinic in Hawaii so that like we could kind of like have
Interesting.
patient continuation like going back and forth and also just to expand the clinic. So they were like, well, if you could get your license, then we could like have you go over and set up the clinic since you know all of our stuff already.
Great.
And I was like, yeah, I'm not mad about that.
Sign me up.
And then they were like talking about all this stuff, like, oh, maybe we could like put it on a rotation where everybody gets to go for like 3 months over there and then come home for 9 months. And like,
That's
but
awesome.
like that would have been so fun.
That would have
But
been really
never ended
cool.
up coming to fruition. So
Yeah.
never used that license. But
Well, that would have been cool.
yeah.
Yeah. There's a part of me in my younger 20s that really wanted to live there, and
Mm,
now not so much, but it is a really beautiful place to visit and experience, and such a beautiful culture.
yeah.
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 So I'm really excited.
Eat all the fruit for me.
I will. I will. The last time I went, I didn't like fruit very much, but now I feel like I like fruit a little bit more. But I
Okay.
really like Hawaiian food, like loco moco and spam
Mm.
musubi. And oh, that'll be so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into this super fun episode.
I'm excited. I don't
We're
know what we're
talking about
talking about. We're talking about the dark side. Are
the
we
dark
talking about
side.
like
So,
Elon Musk and stuff?
so that is who originally inspired this.
Yeah, I
Because
remember
I was kind
talking
of,
about this.
yeah, I was kind of like when we were talking about like him coming out about his diagnosis and everybody being
Yeah.
like, great, we have wonderful representation now in the media.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to do an episode on like who else in history has been like diagnosed or
Neurodivergent.
likely diagnosed and also not a great character.
Mm-hmm.
But the fun thing is I didn't really find a lot of specific people like that, thankfully. So it really turned into more of like a like who are more of like the negative figures
Yeah.
in history of neurodivergence and also an organization that we've talked about off and on. So it's really gotten into some of those. So its full title is The Dark Side, A Complex History.
Love.
Yeah.
Well, and it just goes along with that rhetoric of like, just because you're autistic doesn't mean you're good
Yep.
or
Or bad.
bad.
One way or the other. Yeah.
True.
And that's kind of what I started this with. So buckle in. Here we go.
Perfect.
A lot of my sources came from Embrace Autism, which is a pretty good research organization. Um, and so that I used that and several other articles that I found talking about these different topics. So first I want to start with there's no evidence to support a link between autism and a predisposition to delinquency, crime, or evil behavior, that kind of thing. We were stereotyped early on because of the stereotype that a lot of male autism presents with what seems to be lower empathy, whereas a lot of people with autism do actually have high empathy. But that lower empathy thing was connected to like, oh, well, low empathy means that you don't care, which means that you are evil, bad, whatever, was an early stereotype. And now they know that the rate of criminal behavior is actually a lot lower among autistic people than in the non-autistic population. And a lot of that is more due to our justice orientation. So that we believe in rules and want people to follow them and don't usually break them ourselves unless they
Mm-hmm.
don't make sense. But so then I wanted to go kind of back to like where that negative aspect started from, and it started from like way, way back. We've told this story kind of once before, but European medieval folklore described like fairies as um, they said that like fairies stole like normal human children and replaced them with changelings.
That's right.
Yeah, that were like sickly, had atypical behavior,
Mm-hmm.
like avoidance of physical affection,
Yeah.
crying for no discernible reason, or like inability to express emotions, and selective mutism, mutism, like being mute.
Right.
Um, and while those are all hallmarks of autistic children,
Yeah.
the description of like a sudden change in an otherwise like normal child's behavior fits like the timeline of an autistic child's development.
Right.
And so even as early as those like medieval times, they
Right.
had stories that were related
Hmm.
and kind of like demonized it in a way.
Yeah.
Um, and something that I didn't know about that was that a lot of times the mothers would then abandon the baby
Yeah.
in the woods. And even if they didn't want to do that, it was like sh basically told to them by everyone around them, the elders and everything, that that was a good thing because they were giving it back to the fairies and like rejecting the fairies.
It's horrible.
Yeah. Yep. Um, da, da, da.
Well, it's just interesting too. I mean, moralizing, like the morals of it all, of like,
Mhm.
it is good moral to be affectionate and emotional, and it is bad moral or immoral is bad moral.
Yeah, because they would say like the child is like of Satan, and so you
Yeah.
were like doing the town a service by getting rid of the child, or
Which,
like
do you know like satanic values and stuff? Do you know like
of the
the
like current satanic church
I
kind
don't
thing,
know.
right?
I don't know. All I want to say is that like it has a lot to do with like following your own self and your
Mm.
own path. And it's just so interesting to me because that's so good. Like I think that
Yeah.
that's great.
Well, then there was that big
And
thing a while of people saying like, "Oh, the satanic, I'm gonna change to the satanic temple because they're like actually doing the values that I said." Like, I agree with
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting. And it makes me think of like even in other cultures when they describe autistic people, like I think there's a Japanese word that means that they're in their own time. And that
Mm.
like goes directly to some of like the teachings of the Satanic Church, which would like
Mm.
then in turn connect to like these changelings who just were their own people and
Yeah, and that makes sense that it would be more like accepting of differences and stuff because it wasn't
yeah.
seen as like, if you're in the satanic church, there is no like Satan bad like
Yeah.
character to,
Yeah.
mock people as, or like, yeah.
Yeah. It is interesting. I think that, yeah,
Yeah.
I have a lot to say about it, but go on.
Interesting. Yeah. So jumping forward a bit, we talked in our history episodes about the founders of autism
Mhm.
research, the fathers of autism, and kind of interesting. They had pretty varying opinions about autism, like whether it was positive or negative, and how they felt about the children. And so that's Canner and Asperger. And Kanner viewed them more through like a pathological lens. And then Asperger often referred to many of his subjects affectionately as his little professors. Um, but it was interesting because even though he had that like affectionate side for them, um, he he also had a pretty heavy hand in both killing and experimenting with disabled and mentally ill children. Um, yeah. And then on the other hand, Canner, even though he had more of like a pathological view of kids, he apparently also helped with he helped like 200 Jewish clinicians and scientists escape from Nazi Germany. And then he also didn't participate in the aspects of like autistic children being included in um what the concentration camps and stuff like that. Like he was an advocate against that and helping people get out of it. Whereas Asperger was kind of more on the side of
Right.
like, let's put them in, a place all
Right.
together and
Yeah.
yeah.
Kind of like there's two sides of the negativity. One is like
Mhm.
pathologizing the disease, but not the disease. Oh my God.
What they viewed as the
I am
disease.
not,
Yeah.
I'm not ableistic, promise. One was saying that they're like it was a disorder and they were like not normal and whatnot, but there was like more kindness shown toward
Right.
autistic individuals, whereas this other person was like, hey, let's maybe it was a little bit more normalizing and treating him more like if they maybe equitable to be included in the concentration camps. I don't know if that would be the right way of saying it though.
Mm. Yeah, where Asperger was more like he cared for the kids, but he also was like treated them like they were just objects or like not
Maybe it's like
people.
infantilization.
Yeah, infantilization
Yeah.
and yeah.
Huh. Problematic.
Yep, very
Yeah,
problematic.
very. Not a fan of either.
Yep. And then of course we know also that part of Canner's pathologizing thing was also that he um blamed the mothers and
Right.
called them refrigerator mothers because they
Yeah.
were so like cold towards their children or whatever, when now we
Yeah,
think like that was autistic mothers raising
totally.
children.
Yeah.
So yeah, so those guys are a pretty negative. Right up there with them is another guy that we talked about then, Ole Ivar Lovaas, who was the originator of applied behavioral analysis, the ABA therapies. Um, so he initially, interestingly, sought to save autistic children from a life of permanent institutionalization. Because at the time it was pretty much like anybody with any kind of diagnosis, any kind of mental handicap or delay was sent to institutions automatically. And a lot of those institutions were like super cramped. They were basically like an asylum, like dirty, not well cared for, that kind of thing. So interesting, he actually started in like a positive place where he was trying to keep them from having to go to institutions through treatment.
Yeah, it just seems like there's a lot of harm
Mhm.
in all of these like stories.
So yeah, so as a way to like help them, Lovas employed like his dark side was really that he employed a lot of abusive techniques to attempt to help them,
Right.
which really we know now that the help is just like forcing them to try to fit in and like learn to fit in,
Yeah.
and suppress any other,
Mhm.
you know, natural feelings and emotions and
Yeah.
expressions of autism. So he really focused on the significance of reducing autistic behaviors like stimming. And to accomplish that, he worked at UCLA in a laboratory there. So this was all very like official. Like it was all above bar at the
Well,
time,
it makes
which is
sense. It's still relevant
yeah.
to a
Mhm.
lot of treatments these days. I mean,
Mhm.
for it to be that heavily researched and still like hold that much merit, it had to have been done in a very like
Yeah, official
methodological way. Holy shit,
methodological.
my words are escaping.
That's okay. A
But
methodical way, yeah. It was very much like a sanctioned thing.
well,
So,
yeah. And it's just terrible that rather than like using the research to lift up autistic behaviors or like show that like it's okay that people do this, it was more of like, well, let's just make everyone fit in and let's
yeah,
make
how
it
do we
more.
hide it
Yeah,
so that
it's
we,
painful.
yeah. Um, and in his research and everything, they use a lot of aversives to train kids not to do the thing. So negative punishments of a lot of different kinds, like some physical abuses,
Yeah.
verbal abuses, that kind of thing. And this is where like ABA got such a negative stereotype
Mhm.
from. Um, And then because his research was so official and so large, a lot of other clinics throughout the United States started to emulate his tactics.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was using like negative or painful stimuli to discourage behavior. So they believed that through the negative application of things that they could modify their behavior and could end or at least greatly reduce autistic children from having a life in an asylum. And then still today, ABA is on the most popular end of treatments available, but now the focus is switched to rewards instead of aversives. So where, this isn't going to be a whole episode on ABA, but because everybody has very mixed opinions on it, because like
Yeah.
technically
Complicated.
there are ways that it works
Mhm.
because the goal of the therapy is to have people blend in more and to learn to adapt to neurotypical world. So it works in that it does meet those goals and also meets the goals usually of neurotypical parents raising a neurodiverse child. But it does not necessarily work in the terms of the goals of ourselves, which would be to be more ourselves, to be accepted in the community, to be able to be ourselves and be accepted in the community.
Yeah.
Those goals are not met, which is where a lot of people dislike ABA so much,
Mhm.
is because it's not really for the autistic person. Like it really is for the comfort of the people around them.
Yep.
So yeah,
Couldn't have said it better myself.
yeah. And then of course that dude. We also don't like it because of that dude.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. So I wanted to read part of this article um because it was just a really interesting one. It kind of coming at it from a neutral perspective of like understanding where people who think that ABA is great and people who don't like it, where they kind of intersect. Anyways, this one I'm just going to read straight from. So, on one side, you have the neurotypical parents and families of autistic children, and on the other, you have the online community of adult autistic people, many of whom are parents to autistic children as well. The two sides disagree on virtually everything, but arguably the most contentious subject is ABA. ABA therapists and many families of autistic people hail it as the most effective and most scientifically proven way to help autistic children develop life skills such as speech, potty training, going to the grocery store, etc. Whereas autistic adults, many of whom who have been through ABA as children, say that it is abuse. You can imagine how that statement sounds to loving parents whose children adore their ABA therapist and who would never knowingly abuse their beloved child. You can imagine how it feels to be told that the gold standard treatment, which is bleeding your finances dry so that you can help your child, is actually abuse. The difficulty is that when people hear the word abuse, they think of pain and violence. ABA has a big history of those things too. Um, that's founder Ivar Levas used electric shocks to stop children from engaging in their obsessive and repetitive behaviors. He systematically trained them with equal combinations of love and pain to behave more like non-autistic children. He thought he was saving them and turning a raw bundle of nerve endings into something resembling a human being. Whenever ABA comes up, so does Lavas. And autists point out that he used the same techniques to pioneer gay conversion therapy. So, which, like ABA, has also been proven to be deeply harmful to the human psyche. They also point out that while fewer ABA therapists use things like electric shock, it is still actually used and considered important by several institutions. But ABA has changed, people argue. My ABA therapist never uses punishment. It's all positive and reward based. That is very true for many people. Most ABA therapists don't set out to hurt children. And yet, despite making ABA therapy fun and positive, the underlying goals of ABA have not changed. And it is these goals that, like gay conversion therapy, do long-term damage to the human psyche. The reason that parents and ABA therapists can't see it as abusive is because they can't see it from the point of view of an autistic person.
Yeah. And that like being autistic is wrong and that they don't belong for who they are and
Yeah.
they must change in order to receive love and reward and
Yeah.
that would do super damage to a human psyche.
Yeah. Um, and so the problem with ABA is not the rewards, not the silly imitation games. The problem with ABA is that it addresses the child's behaviors, not the child's needs.
Yeah.
And then you also have to understand that sessions like this are not just a couple hours of a week. ABA therapists recommend that small children between 2 and 5 years old go through 40 hours a week of this type of learning.
Yeah.
No wonder these kids are tired and rubbing their eyes. Like my allistic 8-year-old doesn't even do 40 hours a week in school.
Yeah.
Imagine asking double that for a preschooler. And then consider that ABA is designed to ignore any protests that the child might make. It's not designed to consider the child's feelings or emotional needs. And they said, I'm not making a jump when I say that. You can go to any ABA website and read what they say, and you'll see that there will be no discussion of the child's emotional welfare or happiness, only behaviors. And in ABA, behavior is the only thing that matters. It considers autistic children as unbalanced kids who need to be balanced out. And if you balance their behavior, then they are fixed. So, yeah. So this is a really good article. It does go on to talk about a lot of other things. It is from a page called Neuroclastic. And the article is called Invisible Abuse, ABA, and the Things Only Autistic People Can See. And it was written 7 years ago, so things may have changed a little bit. But I think the general point of that is showing exactly where the negative thinking is in the creation and use of different types of therapy. So speaking of people who have negative backgrounds of their organizations, the big one that I want to talk about is Autism Speaks. So we've talked before in little bits and pieces about the organization, but I kind of wanted to go a little more into why we're so against them.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't want to go like too in depth with it, so I summarized as much as I could. So Autism Speaks was founded in 2005 by Suzanne and Bob Wright, who are parents of an autistic child. It is one of the most controversial and largest autism awareness organizations. However, many autism, neurodiversity, and disability rights advocates view Autism Speaks as a hate group for their history of fear-mongering, excluding autistic voices, and disproportionate funding for genetic cures for autism rather than research for providing for autistics and their families. The rights portray autism as a scourge that steals children, leaving only a shell of a person in its wake.
Lovely.
Yeah. And it's this message is eerily similar to that medieval folklore about changelings.
Yeah.
Yeah. The lasting shame of the refrigerator mother archetype empowered Autism Speaks' narrative of autism as a ruthless disease that works faster than pediatric AIDS, cancer, and diabetes combined. That's a quote from their like background. So there's a lot of information out there about like both sides about where they have some positive things that they do as far as like funding some research for things and like not that we're focusing on a cure, but it is good that there's research funding at all. And also awareness, like they do bring some awareness in positive ways,
Mhm.
but it's the original founding of and their view of autistic people as being abnormal, different,
Yeah.
not good,
Right.
something to cure.
Yeah.
Like it's their outlook that is the problem. And then
Totally.
it's also that they don't include autistic adults in
Mhm.
like their own organization. Like they don't have people on their board that are, they don't have like a big group that they get the information from of where to go with their research, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not a discussion together at all.
Mm-mm. It's
So
not inclusive.
yeah. And then there's also the puzzle piece
Yeah.
portion of it, which is, there's the puzzle piece that is known as the Autism Speaks logo, with the different bright colors. You may have seen it before. I'll post pictures of it. But I actually didn't know much of the history of it, so I did look up some of the history on where that puzzle piece came from. Okay, so this one is from a site called In the Loop About Neurodiversity, Putting Identity First, which has its own problems. But um, this website is talking about the history of the puzzle piece. And so the original origin of the puzzle piece symbol came from a United Kingdom organization, the National Autistic Society, in 1963. It was created by someone named Gerald Gasson, a board member for the National Autistic Society. He and the rest of the board believed that autistic people suffered from a puzzling condition.
Oh.
So they adopted a logo of a puzzle piece with a weeping child in the middle, displaying the notion that autism is a tragedy that children suffer from. This visualization of autism has led to decades of autistic people receiving unwanted treatments and therapies to treat a disease that they don't have.
It's not a disease.
Yep. Okay, so from there in 1999, the Autism Society of America created the puzzle piece ribbon as a symbol of autism awareness. And the Autism Society stated that the puzzle piece pattern reflects the complexity of the autism spectrum. The different colors and shapes represent the diversity of the people and the families living with the condition. The brightness of the ribbon signals hope, hope that through increased awareness of autism and through early intervention and access to appropriate services and supports, people with autism will lead full lives, able to interact with the world on their own terms. Even though that like sounds like a really positive reason, and all of their like explanations of it were, um, their actual use of their platform was basically still for increased research of cures and treatments. And then through early interventions, what they mean is things like ABA that seek to correct the autistic behaviors. So again, we're saying like living a full life, meaning as close to neurotypical as we can get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That you are not embraced just for being autistic or having autistic traits. Like you need to work hard and have access to all of these resources and become better, and then you will be able to fit into this world and
Yeah.
in the neurotypical world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today, the most recognized use of the puzzle piece is through the organization Autism Speaks, who popularized the symbol after their founding in 2005. They've used that puzzle piece logo to spread autism awareness. And even today, the puzzle piece logo can be seen on its website, in advertisements, public service announcements, t-shirts, pins, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Um, they said that they use the blue Autism Speaks puzzle, which they believe is still a worthy and effective logo. It represents the search for answers that will lead to greater understanding and acceptance of people on the autism spectrum, their diverse challenges, abilities, and strengths. Um, Again, we talked about what Autism Speaks actually does with their money,
Right.
which is not exactly that.
Did you know that I have a puzzle piece tattoo?
Really?
No.
I'm side-eyeing her squinty eyes. I'm still gullible.
Really?
Exactly. I actually do know someone who has a giant one on their
Yeah.
page.
I think a lot of people do,
Yeah.
which is
And I don't blame them because
interesting.
they may not have come from a place
Right,
of understanding all of this or
right,
it even being out there, like
right.
this.
And not thinking it's problematic or being in a support system
Mhm.
where this is very normalized.
Yeah, exactly. Um, So this one talks a little bit more about some things that Autism Speaks has said in the past about their search for answers. So it's previously has called autism a disease, has said statements such as, "This disease has taken our children away. It's time to get them back." They've called autistic people burdens and tragedies, and has called autism itself an epidemic. In their I Am Autism advertisement, they made statements such as autism robs children of their dreams and that autistic children live behind a wall. The puzzle piece is also blue, which also is problematic because, like, okay, well, okay. I'm gonna get into a little bit of like, sometimes I forget that like not everyone pays attention to like all the meanings and symbolism of small
Mhm.
things. And so like there's a lot of people saying like, does this really matter? Like we're gonna talk about the color and it's like, is this really that important?
But it
But it's all in
it's
it's
all
all in the
intentional.
subconscious. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly the same things that like
Yeah.
commercials use in like making that perfect catchy jingle.
Subliminal
Yep,
messaging.
and sending you something that they know that you'll like, or like there's a lot of subliminal messaging. So if you're writing this off as like it's not really that important. They didn't really like make that decision, like whatever we have. Like it's the same as like
Yeah.
racism problems now. Like we keep saying
Mhm.
like, oh well, we didn't make that decision based on that. Everything is shaped by our history. So, anyways,
Yep.
quick little sideball there. So we can talk about the color. So the puzzle piece that they use is blue, which also implies that autism in males
Yep.
are more autistic, are more important to be
Hmm.
recognized, that kind of thing. Um,
It's a
and
white boy's disease.
yeah. Some other reasons that autistic people reject the puzzle piece symbol, one of them is that it's infantilizing. It promotes the mentality that autistic people are incomplete or are missing puzzle pieces, that we need to find where we fit into the puzzle,
Yeah.
to the larger puzzle, which is somehow the right place to be.
Yep.
You know? Um, Treats autism as a disease that needs to be treated or cured. And then the original one with the primary colors supports the misconception that autism is something that only appears in childhood. It's very
Mm.
childish, very oriented towards children. Um, and then the puzzle piece often carries mantras such as until all the pieces fit or until the puzzle is complete, which translates to until there's an answer, a treatment,
Yeah.
or a cure.
Or until the work is done.
Yep.
Until you can figure out how to fit in.
Yeah. And implying again that autistic people have something wrong with them or
Yeah.
they're missing something in their brains or their functioning. Yeah. Some things that people have said in protest to the puzzle piece symbol, through like autistic self-advocates, they've used things like people, not puzzles. I am not a missing piece. And my personal favorite one is nothing about us without us.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing about us without us. Like we are the people who should be talking about this and making these decisions,
Mhm.
and not an organization that doesn't involve us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And autistic adults exist, and there's plenty of us, so we have a voice. Mm,
And honor like all sorts of autistic voices, like honor people that use technology to communicate, honor
yeah.
people that need time to communicate, honor people that need to communicate just online and not in person, like figure out ways to like I think that's what I see as such a misalignment with all of this is like no one is trying to understand or to learn from autistic people.
Hmm.
They're just trying to figure like I think that the intention is to figure out how to access the messaging and the whatever an autistic individual is saying without like honoring how they communicate.
Yeah.
Like, does that make sense?
Yeah. And it's like they want to learn about us, but not from us.
Yeah.
I like what you said, like learning from us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've really shifted my perspective just in the last like 3 years in working with autistic students and just understanding that like, oh my gosh, they have so much more to teach me about autism than all like honestly people just have a lot to teach about themselves,
Yeah.
right? And so the best way to honor and support someone is to like see their full self and if they're autistic it's understanding like okay why is it easier to communicate in that way or like what are some barriers that are making you communicate that way, can we remove the barriers or like is this actually something that we can't remove because it's like harmful to ask that of you and
Yeah.
yeah, it's just such a misalignment with the intention behind, I think, caring, like,
Yeah.
and thinking that like the only way to care about autistic people, or not the only way, but like a big way, is to make them more neurotypical rather than like spending the extra time honoring who that person is.
Yeah. That's going to be a great segue for the next week's episode because we're going to do one about ableism. And I kind of end with like ways to be less ableist. And that's pretty much one of them. The biggest thing is just asking what supports they need, asking how you can
Yeah.
make it better,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So um as far as like turning things around with the symbolism and stuff, some of the things that we've used instead are the rainbow infinity loop for
Yeah.
neurodiversity. That's kind of the new like symbol. We'll see if anybody finds problems with it, but
Yes. I also have one of those tattoos.
I'm not gonna believe anything she says anymore.
I love you.
I know you too. Okay, so this author asks, what should we do with the puzzle piece symbol? Like, is it still
Mm.
useful or not? And some autistic people do choose to repurpose or reclaim the puzzle piece
Yeah.
to have a more positive meaning, kind of like queer.
Right.
Um,
Like we like puzzles.
it
Puzzles is my special
symbolizes
interest.
special interests. Yeah. And our really damn good ability to solve problems.
There you go. I like that. Yeah. Oh.
Um, so, blah, 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 blah. But a majority of the autistic self-advocates choose to scrap the symbol altogether because of its extensive history.
Yeah.
And no matter what, you do have to acknowledge that there is a history behind something in order to claim it back.
Sure.
So, I did find one person who had a good point. Okay, so this one person did say in like their own way of reclaiming it that um they feel like for themselves personally that they are still like searching for their like missing pieces in their own personal way of looking at it,
For sure.
and trying to find their own like special place to fit in,
Hmm.
and that they said that they do like that because with puzzle pieces there's a million different shapes, like there's so many different shapes that a puzzle piece can be. They like the idea that it's like they're trying to find um they're trying to show that they're an individual that fits into some place because there's always a place that the piece does fit.
Right.
So they're saying like I do fit. I
Yeah.
can
It's
be
just
any shape.
finding where that is. Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. So there are some people who like feel that positive behind it and
Yeah.
can shift it. It's just kind of It's kind of up to you after you get all the information to know how
Right.
you personally feel about it.
Yeah.
Take your
I just
pick.
hate puzzles, so
You hate puzzles.
I hate puzzles. They are
Oh.
so stressful to me. I've finished 1,000 piece puzzle in my life while I was like going through like my super grief days.
hmm
And I hated them before that. I hate them after that. Like, I never need to do a puzzle again in my life. But it's really funny because if I walk by, I know this is a tangent, but
Nope.
if I walk by a puzzle, I can't help myself and I have to do like, I have to kind of like play with it, but I get really anxious. Like, I have to get this done. But I know I don't have to, which is probably a lesson that I need to learn. Anyway,
I like that. That's fun. I love puzzles, but I get a little too obsessed with them, so I have to take long breaks between doing
mm,
puzzles. Yeah. So some other things that you can use to help replace it besides just the rainbow infinity loop is that there's also a gold infinity loop and in general the color gold instead of the color blue as an option. So the color gold being specifically from the periodic element AU, so
cute.
shorthand for
I
autism.
thought it was because we're shining stars.
Yeah. So a lot of times they'll use that in because April is when Autism Speaks does their like lighted up blue campaign.
Got it.
So a lot of people instead will do choosing to go gold
Yeah,
instead for that month.
that's so cool.
And then this one also talks about the symbol for autism acceptance rather than awareness, but it doesn't say what that symbol is.
Hmm.
Ah, so you can, that's the rainbow infinity symbol is more focused on acceptance instead of just awareness.
Yeah.
Because more recently the conversation has become, okay, awareness is great and all, but that's not really what we need for, the world to be easier for us. What we need is acceptance.
It scared me.
Yeah. So you can use the rainbow infinity symbol and apparently also the butterfly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Symbolizing transformation, growth, and the beauty of the autistic journey.
Yeah. I have a shirt that says, like, notice the beauty in our differences, and it's a bunch of different moths and butterflies,
Yeah, cool.
which I think ties into, like, the fact that we're all, like, similar but different, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we've also talked about before the lanyards, the sunflower,
Yeah.
like putting sunflowers on lanyards for that too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another a good symbol, a positive symbol.
Yeah. It is an interesting conversation because it's, like, one in which, like, there is there is so much history to go over, and then like me as an autistic person, I don't really resonate with a symbol of
Yeah,
it at all. I
yeah.
honestly resonate with more queer symbols and think of like my autism tied to like my gender, therefore it is queer.
Mm-hmm.
But like, does that make sense? Where it's like it's kind
Yeah,
of all encompassing, but I wonder if it's like it most likely is different for a lot of other people where they have their own experience of what autism is for them.
yeah. I definitely am more inclined to like, for example, I when I hiked the Appalachian Trail, I bought some like little pins of different
Yeah.
kinds, and some of them to go on my backpack,
hmm
and some of them were like LGBTQ
hmm
related. And then I had a few that were autism related. I got off of Etsy. It was a shop that made ones that were different like states that you could put on there, like I am overstimulated, or
Yeah.
like I am like in the orange zone, or there would be different things that you could put on to say like where you were at that time, or things are like I'm nonverbal today, those
Yes.
kind of pins. But when I was looking at them, I was like, I would much rather get a pin that just says I am autistic than something that just has a symbol on it, which is different for everybody because some people don't want to be as forthright with it. But I am inclined more to just be like, I'm autistic.
I completely relate to what you're saying. Like, I don't really need a symbol. I more need like clear communication
Yeah.
and like
Mm.
give me some time to like think about this
Needs extra
or
processing
need
time.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm way more
I love those little I
inclined.
love those little badges that are they're like gift gag type ones, but they have
Yeah.
like the little like gas symbol where it's like the green, yellow,
Yeah.
red, or whatever, and one side's like approach, and the other side is like do
Yes.
not approach.
Yep. I have similar symbols for my students.
Yes, love it.
Similar like
Scales.
energy scales and like I'm available or I'm not available. But
Yeah. I definitely
yeah,
wish that I could use the like I'm nonverbal today one more often.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I'm really noticing about myself that sometimes I really go through like nonverbal spells,
Yeah.
non-speaking spells. So we could talk about that too. I don't know if we've talked about that on the podcast, but nonverbal versus non-speaking.
Mm.
So a lot of people use nonverbal. It's not that it's wrong, it's also just that non-speaking is the literal thing that what is happening for someone where they are not speaking. It's not that they're not having thoughts and they are not, because verbal is connected to language.
Mm.
So it's kind of saying that like someone is not having language
Mm.
rather than like they're just not speaking and sharing their thoughts in a way through their voice, like their vocal cords speech.
Mm.
But like people that are non-speaking can use like AAC devices or can use sign language. And just because it's like said in another way, it
Mm.
doesn't mean that it's not verbal. It just means that they're not speaking.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And it's used in the same way of like, because nonverbals focus on the like, I'm having that shutdown moment where I can't be speaking. It's
Yeah.
used in the same way of like non-speaking. Okay. Because
Yeah.
the connotation that immediately comes to my mind is non-speaking sounds like more of like a choice
Hmm.
than nonverbal does.
Hmm.
Whereas like, yeah. Mm.
Yeah. And it can sound like that, but it is like an ability. Like your speech can shut down.
Yeah.
But I don't think that we'll get rid of nonverbal for quite a while, but I do
Yeah.
think it
It's
will be
kind
an
of
ableist
mainstream.
term
Mm.
soon. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I think that there's some speech pathologists that are starting to like kind of start that rhetoric, but it's
Mm.
definitely not caught on. And I will not correct people that say nonverbal because it's not,
Yeah.
I don't think it's done with ill intention. But
Yeah.
it's like one of those language things, you know?
That may over time, yeah,
Yeah.
be realized.
Hmm.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, because
So
I think if I told somebody that I'm like having a non-speaking moment, I think they would be confused by that because we only know the one usage so far.
right,
But
right.
yeah.
Well, and like you said, shut down too, like that could be another way of saying it too, of like I'm
Mhm.
shut down right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is interesting how quickly language changes.
Yep, it sure does. Yeah, like the history one when we talked about that we've gone through like four different iterations of what's acceptable, like that
Yeah,
retard and retarded was an accepted term,
yeah,
so many times back, and then like idiot was an accepted term until it became not. And like,
yeah.
yeah, it's so crazy how that changes over
It
time.
really does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though like I remember when like person first language first came out when
Hmm.
I was I don't know, I think I was in college around that time because
Hmm.
I was learning about it and how I was supposed to address my patients. And now we've already switched that language of like, okay, wait, some people do prefer person first, some people prefer identity first. Mhm.
And I think that goes with what we were just saying about ableism is it's like it comes down to the individual and it
Mhm.
does matter to put in the effort to understand what each person wants if you
Yeah.
want to honor each person that comes your way
Yeah.
respectfully.
Yeah.
I'm so tired, Bree.
Yeah, we're done. Be unapologetically you this week
Find your joy some way, somehow.
and be respectful.
Thanks for joining us this week. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Music.
Please like, subscribe, and leave us a review. We could use some of those. If you want to get pictures that go along with our episodes and follow along, join us on Instagram and TikTok.
Thanks,
Thanks,
hotties.
hotties.